Hello, in this recording, I want to show you how to set up a word problem. I want us to just think about how to do this algebraically. Oftentimes, for some of us, we're able to just look at this and maybe do some logical thinking, maybe do some guessing and checking, and we can come up with an answer, and we'll feel pretty smart, and we should. You're pretty smart if you can figure these out without doing any real algebra work, or maybe you're just doing it intuitively in your head. But what I want us to practice is not being smart, but setting these problems up algebraically. So setting them up so that we have an equation that ultimately down the road we can solve. In this problem, we're not going to solve it. We're just going to use the algebra equation to check these three possible answers. So that's all we're going to do today in this one. But this is leading us to a place where we can get used to setting up problems that are much more complicated in an algebra way, so that we can solve them using algebra, not just being clever and intuitive and kind of thinking things through in our brain. Because as we go along, we're going to come up across lots more complicated problems that our old methods of clever thinking won't be sufficient for. Okay, so here are our steps. First, we'll read the problem. A clown weighs 60 pounds more than a trapeze artist. The trapeze artist weighs 2/3 as much as the clown. How much does each weigh? And then we've got some choices for the weights of the trapeze artist. Now, the first step is to just identify what is it we're trying to figure out. And the question asks us, it says right here, how much does each one weigh? So that was pretty nice of them. So since we're in algebra, we're gonna choose variables to represent what these two characters weigh. So we'll use C for the clown weight. Now, watch this. C doesn't stand for clown. It stands for how many pounds the clown weighs. So C is a number. And I could have used X or Y or M or Q or anything I wanted to. I just used C to help me associate the variable C, which stands for how much the clown weighs, with the clown who weighs that. And then what do you think I'll choose for the trapeze artist? Yeah, I think I'll use T. T stands for the trapeze artist weight, so the trapeze weight. It's not that trapeze, it's the trapeze artist, but you get the idea. Okay, now that I have my variables, then I can do what we've been doing for a while now, which is to translate these sentences into math expressions, algebra expressions. So, for example, we'll start here at the top. First one, a clown, let's see, weighs 60 pounds more than, so that's 60 plus more than what? A trapeze artist, that's T. And the word weighs here we could replace that with the word is, right? The clown is 60 pounds more than a trapeze artist. So that's a synonym for our equal sign. So there we have it. We've translated that sentence. C equals T plus 60. I'll kind of put it in a more standard way of writing it. Let's put the variable first, but it doesn't matter because it's 60 plus T means the same thing. All right, now let's do the second sentence the same way. The trapeze artist, that's T, weighs, now we know that means equals 2/3, that's frightening, that's a fraction, as much as, 2/3 as much as the clown. Okay, that's C, but what's this as much as? Well, that's a fancy, we could say of 2/3 of the clown. That would be bad English, but easier to read math. 2/3 as much as is a fancy way of saying times. So if we take the clown's weight and multiply it times 2/3, if we figure out what 2/3 of the clown's weight is, that's what the trapeze artist weighs. So let's rewrite that in a sentence. T weighs 2/3 as much as or of the clown C. So look at that, we've got two equations, and now we can, if we could just think of a way to put these two equations together. Now, there's actually two ways to do this. We could take the first equation, and we see in that first equation that there is a t, a spot for t, and the second equation tells us what t equals. So we could replace the t in the first equation with what t equals from the second equation. Or we could do it the other way around. We have the second equation, t equals something with a c, and the first equation tells us what c equals, so we could replace what the c in the second equation with what it equals from the first equation. Either way works. I think it's going to be easier to do it the first way, so let's rewrite that first equation. So c equals t plus 60, and where the t is there, where that t is, I'm going to replace that with what t equals, which is 2/3 c. So I'll write 2/3 c. And now I can try cleaning this up. So now I've got c equals 2/3 c plus 60, and then I can, if I want to, I can move the 2/3 c to the other side by subtracting it. 2/3 c, c minus 2/3 c is 1/3 c. But actually, I'm not even going to do that. I'm just going to leave it like this. Like, this is fine. Oh, except, big mistake here. What went wrong? At this point, I don't know how to, like, we haven't learned how to solve equations yet. Now, if you know how to solve the equation, you can just solve the equation and be done. But we were given all the information in terms of the trapeze artist, and we were told that here's what the trapeze artist could be. So we are going to have to redo this. We did it wrong. We're going to have to redo this. I have to do it the other way around. I know what t is, so I'm going to replace the c in that first equation with some expression in terms of t. So let's do that. There we go. So let's write the second equation. T equals 2/3 c, and I'm going to just write a big parenthesis there for c, so that's c right there, but I know it's c equals this whole thing, t plus 60, so I'll write in place of where c was in the second equation, t plus 60. And now I'm going to plug in my numbers here and see what happens. So I have the formula there. I can just start plugging in t. I've got two spots for t there, and I can plug in my numbers and see which one works. Okay, so 110, let's just try the first one. 110 equals 2/3 times 110 plus 60. Okay, 110 plus 60 is 170. So 2/3 of 170. Well, 3 doesn't even go into 170 evenly, so I know this isn't going to work. I could get my calculator out and try it, but I know that's not going to work. Okay, so now let's try 120. So 120, that's, I'm crossing this off. I'm just going back to my formula. T, 120 equals 2/3 times t again, 120 plus 60. Well, 120 plus 60 is 180, so 120 equals 2/3 of 180. Well, 2/3 means times 2 and divide by 3. And we can do it in either order, right? We can multiply by 2 and then divide by 3, or we can divide by 3 and then multiply by 2. So 180 divided by 3 is 60, times 2 is 120. And again, you can do that on your calculator if you want to. And so this one worked. It came out equal. And by rights, I should probably check the 125 as well and just make sure, verify that that one does not work, which it doesn't. So the 110 doesn't work in this formula I constructed, and the 125 does not work, but the 120 does work. So the trapeze artist must weigh 120. T equals 120 pounds. We're talking about pounds. And then the clown weighs 60 pounds more, 60 pounds more. So the clown must weigh 180 pounds. Both very slender people. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I hope this is helpful.